like really sloppy air quotes there, take that forgetfulness and turn it into some sort of intentionality. This is actually available on Kindle, at least in the United States, for $2.99 American. Hi, I'm Suck Marionette doing business as Bargain Counter Argument, and I am a middle-aged lady in a tiara counting down to Valentine's Day, and it is day 3, February 3rd, Tuesday. It is cold and clear today. It's very sunny out, and it is 5 degrees Fahrenheit and a real feel of 13 degrees, again Fahrenheit. So here in central Connecticut, it's not yet a great day to get stuff done, but it will be. The high today is supposed to be 35 around 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon, and I have a couple of errands to run, so I'm going to hold off until then. Because right now it's a little after 9 o'clock in the morning, and I've been up for about an hour. And because I have errands to do today, I'm going to do a shorter work, and that is going to be Oregon Brown by Sara Orwig. And this is Loveswept, and this is like the original style of Loveswept covers, because this is pretty early on in that line's history, excuse me. This is actually number 58. Loveswept started in May of, I think it was May of 1983 and continued until January of 1999. Their first book was by Sandra Brown. They also published from writers who would later jump out of categories and into romantic suspense or even just straight up mystery, thriller suspense. Now, not all of these writers got their start with Loveswept, but they certainly published with them for quite a while, especially in the 80s. They had Kay Hooper and Janet Ivanovich and Iris Johansen, who actually, her first encounter with Loveswept was that she sent in an unsolicited, unagented manuscript, which they would accept those, but they didn't necessarily expect much from those manuscripts, but they would always look at them because you never knew. And Iris Johansen was you never know. So they had a couple of guidelines. One was these were supposed to be modern and more spicy romances. This was after Candlelight Ecstasy romance had pioneered that kind of genre of category romance, but Loveswept jumped on the train pretty early on. And the other the other rule they had was novelists in their line had to publish under their actual names. You know, none of this hiding, like really sloppy air quotes there. None of this hiding behind a pseudonym. And they were like, you should be proud of writing romances, and people should be proud of reading them and not feel like it's a secret. And not only that, I don't know how long they continued it, but they would have a picture, an author picture in the book. And I don't think they kept that up through the entire history of the line. And a little biographical essay by the writer, just saying who they were and what they did. There was actually at least one married couple who normally published under a pseudonym, but they actually published it as so-and-so and this and that. I don't remember who they were, though. Anyway, so this one is from August of 1984, and it is 180 page and 180 pages. It's a 180 page book, I think is what it is. When I picked this up, it was on the 8 for a $1 spinning rack at Penny's Bookshelf, which is in Milford, Connecticut. So if you're local, you might want to go there if you like this kind of thing. She has a lot of other used books, not just romances, not just category romances. So this is, I read the back and I was like, yes, I must have this. And I remembered it. Now I'm going to read it. His voice murmured huskily through the night, reaching out to embrace her senses across the airwaves, and Charity Jane Webster was smitten. DJ Rory Runyon was a perfect fantasy love, calling her darlin', and sharing love songs with her hour after hour. He never drove her crazy like her disturbingly attractive neighbor, Oregon Brown, who seemed to know all of her secrets. True, Rory was tantalizingly out of reach, and Oregon was all too real and so very seductive when he chose to be. Charity was torn between the unseen lover who haunted her dreams and Oregon, who could hold her in his arms until morning. I have a feeling that Oregon Brown and Rory Runyon are the same person. It's a two-person love triangle, and I really like that. Two-person love triangle, of course, involves hidden identities and people who know each other in one context, who know each other in two different contexts, but don't realize that it's the same person. It is when I see a fan fiction story that is two-person love triangle, I love that. When I see it like this, I also love it. I recently read a couple of books that were like that are going to be featured on an upcoming episode of Bargain Counter Argument After Hours. So I'm looking forward to recording that, and hopefully you're looking forward to seeing it if that's the kind of content you like, because After Hours is when I talk about books that are dark, spicy, or sometimes downright kinky. So it's not for everyone. That's why I do them as separate videos. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one, which I will do. I will update you about halfway through and let you know how it's going. Oh, and one more thing is that you will see, here's the whole back, the wave for Loveswept. They eventually changed that design. And the tagline is Loveswept, love stories you'll never forget by authors you'll always remember. Loveswept. Okay, so, and the earworm of the day, John Kanaka. I'll put a link in the description. It's a sea shanty kind of a deal. They're designed to be catchy, and they are. It's a couple of hours later. It's almost 11 o'clock. I'm in a different room. I'm wearing a different outfit, and I have a different tiara. I'm about halfway through Oregon Brown by Sara Orwig, and I'm enjoying it. Also, just a quick note, I realized as I was editing that first clip that I had forgotten about Meet Cute. So I'm going to turn that into take that forgetfulness and turn it into some sort of intentionality. And what I think I'm going to do is I am going to save Meet Cute for after my errands as a kind of fun little reward. So I'll chapterize the video, so if you want to skip directly to that, you can. But, you can always skip to Meet Cute, watch that part of the video, and then come back later and watch the rest of the video if you want. Okay, so halfway through Oregon Brown by Sara Orwig, and I'm enjoying it. I was a little concerned at first, the first few pages, when she's listening to the radio, and she's like, oh, I'm so in love with his voice, he's wonderful. And she's imagining what he looks like, and she imagines that he looks like Tom Selleck, because that is like the epitome of sexy manliness, or manly sexiness. And that's what she wants to imagine he looks like. She knows that that's just like fun fantasy. And at first I was worried that this was some sort of pathetic parasocial relationship. But it quickly becomes clear that she's only been listening to him for a few days. And what happened was she was raised in Enid, Oklahoma by her great aunt and great uncle. Her great uncle ran one of the town newspapers. And she went away to college and then to start her own firm in Tulsa. She's a landscape architect, so she started a landscaping firm in Tulsa. So she had a couple of boyfriends, but they were didn't really work out, and her firm went bust because she just had a run of bad luck. She had these employees who kept doing things like driving a riding mower into, one of them drove it into a ornamental lake, another one drove it through a plate glass window in an office building, and her insurance covered that, but then they dropped her, and it was just like all these things kept going wrong. So that's happened to her, and then her great uncle died, and so she moved back to Enid, and she's only, like I said, she's only been there for like 6 days or so, so it's not like she's been listening to him for a long time and fallen in love with his voice. She's listened to him for a short time and fallen in love with his voice. But it's just like the things he says and the way she imagines him, I'm like, oh yes, not everybody thinks the same things are sexy, and the things that were sort of considered to be bywords for sexiness in the early 80s are very different from what they are now. So on the 6th day, she actually calls into the show, and she chats with him, and he's kind of flirty with her, and she's kind of flirty with him, and it's kind of fun. And then the next day, she runs into, well, she already knows about the neighbor, but she hasn't met him yet. But she knows that the neighbor, Oregon Brown, owns the radio station, and he wants to buy the newspaper now that her great uncle has died. And so she's trying to decide, help her great aunt decide what to do. And her great aunt is in her 80s, and she's not sure that her great aunt should really live alone. So she's trying to work all this stuff out. And a billy goat shows up in her backyard and eats her plants. She has some large potted plants out on the patio, and the billy goat eats them, and she's kind of really, really mad. And also she's afraid of the billy goat because he looks like he's going to charge her. He's got horns and stuff. So she jumps up on the porch swing and gets stuck there for like an hour until the billy goat finally goes away. And she realizes he came from Oregon Brown's yard. So she goes over and she's really, really mad at him, and he's kind of not taking the situation very seriously until he's like, oh, the billy goat, he's fine. He's a lamb. You'll love him. He'll love you. And then when he takes her over to meet the billy goat is like, looks like he's ready to charge her. And he's like, I don't understand. He usually likes everyone. So he starts taking it a little more seriously, and he apologizes for the plants, and he offers to replace them. Part of her anger is that she had an emotional connection to those plants. They were the last plants left over from her failed business. And she was like, she actually tells him this. She's like, in my mind, I thought as long as I had those few plants, it was like I still had part of the business and I could start over. So they have some conversations, and you know, she kind of gets over her anger, and that's nice. And then they actually have intimate relations, and she's kind of surprised at herself because she never thought she'd have intimate relations with somebody she hadn't known very long, but she has this connection with him. They have like good chemistry and so on. And it turns out she's never actually had physically intimate relations before. And just like right at the end of that particular intimate relation, she realizes that, oh my gosh, he has the same voice as the radio guy, you know. It's just like, normally the radio guy has a deeper voice, so that's why she didn't recognize it, but now she does. And she's like, she doesn't know what to do with that. It says she's on a roller coaster of emotions from anger to ecstasy. So she doesn't know whether to be mad or horny, or she's kind of both. And she's also like, why hasn't he told her at any time? Because he knew who she was, because when she called into the radio show, she gave her actual name, and there aren't that many people named Charity running around. So she's like, why hasn't he told me? So what am I going to do with this? So at the point where I'm stopping here, she hasn't yet decided whether or not to tell him that she knows that he and Rory Runyon are the same dude. So I think that there could be more shenanigans. And I'm actually, at first it was a bit of a rocky start, but I'm getting into it now. And so I'm going to finish this book and do another clip, and then I'll do my errands. And after I come back from my errands, I will, like I said, reward myself with the next story in Meet Cute and let you know how the errands went. Because I am sure you are desperate to know how my trip to the post office and my trip to Aldi went down. I know I'm curious. Okay, it's about 12:45 now. I finished Oregon Brown by Sara Orwig. It was a lot of fun. It really was. She kind of took her revenge on him, a sort of sweet, flirtatious revenge for his not telling her that he was both people. And also, I forgot to mention this before, but it came up a couple more times, is that his show is, his voice is so sexy that even his ad reads are titillating. Anyway, it gets goofy toward the end, but in a good way. Really had a good time with this. That was fun. Each time I thought maybe the problem I might have with this story was that he wasn't taking her concerns or her emotions seriously, like when she'd get mad. But it turned out he actually, he was not trying to minimize her anger or her reasons for being angry. He was trying to diffuse the situation, not always terribly successfully, but that's actually pretty true to life, I think. Anyway, I had a good time with this, so yeah, liked it. Now, I think because it's getting close to noon, I'm going to go have some lunch before I go gallivanting around doing errands, because I don't know, it shouldn't take me very long, but I would like to have the flexibility of staying out longer if I want to. So eat lunch first. We have a stuffed bread, chicken bacon ranch, and probably will have that with a side salad. But before I go downstairs for lunch and then come back upstairs to get dressed and then go back downstairs to go out, I think I will show you what the deal is with Meet Cute today. We have checkerboard hearts, very cute. And let's see what the story is. Who's it by? What's it called? Like I said, I'll read it after I get back from my errands, but it is called Hourglass, and it is by Ibi Zaboy, I believe. The first name Ibi is I-B-I, and the last name Zaboy is Z-O-B-O-I. So that'll be what and this one, I think, let's see how long this is. I haven't been saying how long these stories are. I think this one's a little on the longer side. It's a little over 20 pages. It's about 24 pages long. So I will come back after I've had lunch, done my errands, and read today's story so I can update you on all of that stuff. Okay, I'm back from my errands. I got my Valentine's Day cards mailed. I went to Dollar Tree for cheap reading glasses, which I found. It's right next door to Marshall's, so I dipped in to see if they had any books that I would be interested in, and they did. This is Flirty Little Secret by Jessica Leap? I don't know. But this is a two-person love triangle where she is a shy, quiet guidance counselor who secretly has a website or an advice column online or something, and he's a history teacher and at the school where she works, and also he follows her blog, social media, whatever it is. So I'm looking forward to that. A quick note about Oregon Brown. This is actually available on Kindle, at least in the United States, for $2.99 American. That's $2.99. So if you're interested, I'm hesitant to tell people to spend their hard-earned money on something, but I liked it, and you might like it too. If any of the descriptions I gave sounded intriguing, you might like it. I will say this: it is, in terms of spice, it is typical Loveswept. It is open door. However, the language is very soft core. Like, they don't use any four-letter words in any context. They do say "damn it" a few times, but that's not during the intimacy scenes. And so you don't have to worry that they're going to use terminology for body parts or acts that you don't like, because they use like more discreet language, I guess you could say. So that's the spice level here. Okay, so after I went to Marshall's and Dollar Tree and the post office, I went to Aldi and just picked up some groceries. Very exciting stuff. At Marshall's, I did get the pause that refreshes. I have a Diet Coke to enjoy throughout the rest of the afternoon while I edit. And let's see. So I read Meet Cute. I read that story when I got home. That is, again, Hourglass by Ibi Zaboy, not sure. And it's a really, really nice kind of coming of age story. It's kind of like how things can be going kind of not great for you, and then something happens that kind of gives you a new lease on life. That's how I would describe that. And it was just a really, really lovely short story about meeting somebody in a cute way. Meet cute, you might even say. And so that was day 3 of the Countdown to Valentines. I think that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, share, subscribe, or don't. I am not the boss of you. And I hope you have a good day or night.